Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I've got a man called Shub on the show. He goes by the name of the Urban Barefoot on social media. And I'm thinking a lot of you who tune into this podcast will know of him already. You may already follow him on social media. He is all about natural living and lifestyle. And this is my conversation with him. And we talk in large about how to connect in your heart, how to connect with your heart, how to live from that space and what that really means. It was a very unagendered podcast that really just allowed me to just be more of who I am and my true self is, without intellectualizing questions and trying to fit in some bullet points of how to be and what to do next. The conversation is just authentic, and it's probably one of my favorites because it just speaks to that in abundance. We talk about some amazing ideas and discuss so many great values which serve us humans. So I hope you enjoy, and subscribe, like, to help me grow the podcast and have people like Jeff on more, who teach us how to really be more human and connect to each other deeply and live more empowered lives. So again, thanks for tuning in. And this is my podcast with Jeff. No, this is our podcast with Jeff Shub, even though it's just me. Thanks.
Yeah, hi. I'm here in Costa Rica right now, and I'm living in this community that is like a eco-conscious fruit forest neighborhood in the jungle. And I just walked around and picked some fruits, and I have them sitting here next to me. And I was just thinking about and feeling into how most people would have no clue what any of these fruits are. And I say that because I had no clue what any of these fruits were before I started to dig in.
Amazing.
And
Let's
think
do
about it.
Let's do an experiment. Show one up to the camera and I'll see if I can guess it.
I mean, here, we'll go with the easy one to start.
Jesus, I know I've seen it before, but I forget the name.
The name is what it looks like.
A star fruit.
It's a star fruit.
There we go. That was an easy guess. Ooh,
it's a hard one.
I'm gonna say, because I've seen avocados look like that before, but I don't. There's not one, is it?
There are some red avocados. This is called a water apple.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's really funky because it doesn't look anything like an apple, but it actually has very cool flavor.
Wow.
And so this looks like a lime, right? But when you cut it open, it's orange, like an orange. It looks like an orange, and it's they're called mandarin limes, and they're so delicious. Like, I would never want to eat a lime again after having this. And then this is it's called the egg fruit, and the inside looks like an egg. It looks like scrambled eggs, and it just an incredible flavor.
That's insane.
So yeah, this is my lunch today. This is my food today.
That is so
good. And I was looking on your page, and I saw that the most recent post that you shared with this woman talking about how your food is farmed. This topic has been so big, and relating so deeply to my path, because what it's really been for me is kind of starting to learn about all the parts of myself as a human, like all the parts that I have in me. And I say it's related because there's all these parts that are available to us in nature and around that we have no idea about. Like all of these different ways of doing things, these different ways of being that we just don't have any clue about, because we were systematically like programmed to be far away from these things. Mm-hmm. So, you know, where our food comes from, what food looks like, we only know the fruits that are sold in a grocery store.
Yeah, that have been like specifically chosen to be that way, and no variety.
Right. And so the equivalent in the human experience is like the emotional body, you know, like our whole lives we're told that we were taught how not to use it. Like it's always like, oh, calm down, don't be angry, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of, stop crying, you know. And yeah, I was raised in that. That's how I lived, a numb, you know, man that had to, you know, boys don't cry and don't be afraid, like fear is bad. And then now more recently in the spiritual worlds, like fear is the opposite of love. And I've just started to explore and experiment with connecting with my emotional body and just accepting these things that I have inside of me, instead of trying to change them or fix them or judge them. And it has opened up a whole world of possibilities. You know, being in Costa Rica is part of that. Being here and not, you know, leaving you know, typical Western culture city, going away from, you know, the usual way of doing things. Because when I started to allow my feelings to speak, they started to tell a really important story about what was okay for me and what was not okay for me, where I thought I was going versus what my true essence was. And we're about 5 or 7 minutes in, and I have this fear that I'm going too deep too quickly. So
there is
I want to pull back a little bit.
There is no such thing on this podcast. It is how it's meant to be. Continue, mate. Continue.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm curious about what this brings up for you.
Yeah. Like, so first of all, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for going deep very quick. I knew asking you how you doing was never ever going to be yeah, I'm good, and then wait for the question. It would be opening up into an unagendered, like, just conversation, which I have no idea where this is going to go, and I absolutely love that. Like, I've actually been I messaged you the other day and I was like, bloody hell, I've been listening to your podcast, and it's actually been amazing. That what come up for me then actually was delving into all your podcasts that you've done, you know, double figures over the last 3 years, say, seeing your journey and like the voice and the silence between your words, and like just all that kind of variety of language that you choose, your communication with the person, the interviewer, and like feeling into that experience, and like almost kind of witnessing your change and growth over that period. And it was beautiful to go through that and just witness and just hear. So that was really cool. And yeah, and when you touched on the kind of variety of this, we have this polarizing view of like, it's either love or it's fear. But for me, that brought up, like, there's such a variety. We just label, we categorize, but the variety between those words is so huge. It's so big, and you do not know them until you just start to live away from and shed those two concepts.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, it's funny because in the work that I do, one of the big experiments that we're always practicing, always is a dangerous word, but trying as much as we can. When someone says, "How are you?" It's like, you know, really noticing the mechanical part that just says, oh, I'm great. How are you? Oh, great. Okay, cool. And it's like, wow, we just wasted such precious opportunities. And what you're sharing about the labeling, it's so important. I'm not going to say as humans, but rather as who we are today, and generally, there's this game of like label and move on, right? Label and move on. And there's such a missed opportunity there, because in every single thing is a reflection of everything. And to sit with the most mundane thing, like a cup with water, and to go beyond the label of a cup with water, and to really see how it's a reflection of the masculine containing the feminine, and about, how much more is available in life than what I'm currently seeing. It's like you could really dive in so deep and have a almost transformational psychedelic experience by just sitting with a glass of water. And yeah, like there is such a broad range of what fear is, and one of the big lessons that I've learned is that a distinction is more powerful than a boundary. So an example of this is like, a boundary is love over fear, right? I'm not going to do fear. No, like putting a boundary around it, and I'm just going to do love. A distinction is to say, okay, well, fear is an energy source that provides information, and it is different from this other thing that keeps us safe and keeps us in our comfort zone, right? There's two different things. There's this thing that I don't have a word for, that keeps us too afraid to do something. And then there's this energy that shows us where our next step in growth is, where there are more possibilities than what we see available right now, where we can be more present, more alert. There's this like really powerful information, and then there's this other thing that's like a prison. And it's what you're saying, like just allowing things to be more rich than just one thing.
Yeah. I think it's wrapped up in it's a cultural mindset, isn't it? It's these kind of fabrics of our lived experience in the largely in the West, and we have these mindsets that are like, keep calm, carry on, like progressive. Or what does that actually mean when you break it down? Like,
yeah.
and that's wrapped up in not able to just sit and have a conversation where you're not trying to get anywhere. You're just trying to you're trying to be more, and like understand. That's not necessarily getting anywhere. It's just deepening the experience of your life. It's a richness to words that.
Yeah, it's like a game of proving that every belief that you have is just a belief and is not true. So one of the things that really blew my mind, these are actually banana trees right here. So a banana tree fruits once, right? It gives fruit, and then that's it. And what the permaculture world does is they practice chopping it down and using it as mulch, to bring more nutrients and richness to the soil for the next generation. And the way banana tree seeds is actually, you'll see these little trees just popping out from the ground around it. It's the banana itself, the fruit that you eat is not a seed. It just creates more little ones from its roots. So I mean, there's some down there, right? Like this tree has already fruited. ideally, you chop it down, or it'll eventually rot itself down to provide nutrients. But so we think that fruit trees, the way it works is they put out a fruit, the fruit has seeds, you plant the seeds, you get more trees. But that's just one way. It's just one way. It's not the way. It's just one way. And so, I believe that, gosh, I've stripped away so many of them that it's like, it's hard to even think about what is true anymore. Like, yeah, the concept of truth becomes so esoteric at some point. But like, I believe that I needed to have a car, that was a signal of like, I'm doing well. And, it's just like everybody in Miami has a car, and like, you need a car. And the day I handed my car back, I had a lease, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago. I handed my car back, and I remember just walking 8 miles home from the dealership. Like, it just happened to be like 8 or 9 miles. And I just walked it home. And it was one of the most amazing days of my life so far at that point. And I would just like, I had my backpack with my computer. I just walked to one place. I'd stop, do some work, pack back up, walk, do some. And I was like, man, what an amazing life it would be if actually, instead of having a car and just driving to work, you just walked and stopped at different places and like opened the computer, did a little work, and kept moving, kind of like this nomadic hunter type of thing. And that just like blew my mind, because like the whole time I'm thinking like, this is how it has to be. And then so the invitation from what all this that I'm saying is like, find ways to prove yourself wrong. And get in conversations with people that believe completely different things from you, so that you recognize that you just have one thought and somebody else has another.
Yeah, and it's a belief system. You're in bed with your own ideas, and you really have to awaken to that to understand more. I mean, I started, I think it was unconsciously, because I don't remember doing it consciously, but it's happened. So I guess it was an intention to some extent. I started a group with 4 friends. It was an audio book club, and we listened to the same book, and we talk once a month. And these 4 friends, I don't generally agree on much about politics, about policies, about the way the world's run, like, our interaction with it. I disagree with it, and I'm learning so much, like not from their way of like, oh, I'm wrong, but just to lean into that and then realize, what are these beliefs? What are my thought patterns? What ideas have I got? What are my biases? Like, it's fascinating, and you learn so much by doing that.
Yeah, one of the messages that I got, and it's I've had this one for a while, is that anything that you can disagree with somebody on is not true. At any point that you can have a disagreement with someone about something, there's no truth there. It's just a game of opinions. And it's like, we are taught to compete, and we're taught to need to be right. Like in school, you have to get the right answer. And there's a multiple choice, and you have to circle the right answer, and you either got it right or you got it wrong. And then if you got it wrong, there's a penalty. And so we God, it's like, it's so painful to think about how many times, and it still happens, I get into these discussions with people, and I'm trying to prove my point. And it's like, how futile this is, and what a waste of time. Because this person thinks that they have the right answer, I think I have the right answer, and we're just talking to ourselves, or to our teacher from school, like elementary school, or to our parent, and it's not even the other person. So you're like, there's not even anything happening. It's just like loops and programs running, this mechanical I call it box. We all have our box, like our belief system, and it's just this mechanical programming that just like executes like you said, unconsciously. Use that word. It's like, how many unconscious actions do I take in a day? And in relation to other people, it's so much, it happens so much. And instead it's like, you know, the question is, would you rather be right or be in connection?
That's a good
Like,
question.
like the question I ask myself, or I try to remember to ask myself when I'm in a space with somebody, is like, what am I really trying to accomplish here? Like, what is the point, the purpose, the context of this conversation?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I ask myself, and I don't know. I really don't know what it is. And whenever I don't know what the context is, that means that there's like a shadow context that's being formed without me knowing. That's running in the background. So it's either competition or revenge or jealousy or all these programs, you know, like trying to be right, trying to appease somebody, trying to please, trying to avoid punishment, trying to be praised, trying to you know, like avoid my shame, you know, my deep fear of like not being loved, or you know, something like that. And so a practice, and this is, I like that in this conversation is a lot of like the practical invitations. It's like, before dropping into any conversation, ask, what is the point of this? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And a lot of times you'll actually get the answer that there is no point. And so maybe you could actually save yourself a half hour or an hour and go do something that does have some connection to your purpose, to some, we call a bright principle, or like some refraction of consciousness and of love, you know, community, connection, love, a transformation, healing, you know, evolution, integrity. Like, it's like, build this clarity about, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And you might not like the answer. I think and that's okay, you know. It's the struggle's the way. The struggle's the way.
That's the pain. It's the pain that's needed in order to actually change something.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing changes in the absence of discomfort. And that and the discomfort, you know, there's physical pain in the body, that like something hurts or something feels tight. And in the emotional body, it's all pain, right? Anger, fear, sadness are these pains, even joy, that can actually spark something to happen differently. If I feel angry about something, that is what I am meant to work on, right? Because I want to see it done differently. So when I'm angry enough about it, I will do something. When I'm sad enough, I will connect with somebody or let something go. When I have enough fear, I will start to get creative and like go in a direction that that I don't want to go on. So like tonight, for instance, one of the men from this community and I are going to go hike the river in the middle of the night. And we're doing this consciously to tap deeper into our fear, to get to know our fear more, and to become like the master of our fear, so that when it's happening throughout regular life, I can identify it and I could say, hey, fear, what do you have for me? Like, what are you trying to tell me? And then I don't get consumed by it. I just take the information and it gives me the wisdom to keep going. It's like the cardinal directions of your life, you know, anger, fear, sadness, joy. It's so beautiful to start to access these.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I trick myself, and it's only coming up now. Like, I think I trick myself into thinking I'm trying to help someone, but probably the root of my motivation of wanting to be right, wanting to win, is so that I can just validate what it is I'm doing. And that's so powerful when you get that, because it's like, well, yeah, okay, I'm teaching yoga to some people because I really want to help them. But am I, what extent do I want to help them? Do I want it to extent that I don't care how I look? You know, am I helping someone in that way? Do I still care? Do I want that picture that's just being taken for me to get my posture right before it's taken, because I care what I look like, because I want to validate me in this experience. It's not all about just helping them. And like trying to unlock that and just see a bit more to the picture is so like beneficial.
So what I'm sensing here is like also the big program, which is like the good bad, and it's also the right wrong good bad thing. It's like we tend to put things in the bucket of good or bad, you know. So like when I talk about having these shadow purposes, I can, you know, I can see how most people would be like, oh yeah, those are bad, I don't want to do those anymore. But actually, until we pull it out of the bad pile and just put it into the information pile, then it's not the wisdom of it is not going to be accessible. So like you say, yeah, when I teach yoga, is it because I really want to help people, or is it because I want to be the leader? I want people to look up to me. And it's like, okay, if you come clean with yourself about it, it doesn't mean you have to not be a yoga teacher anymore. It just means, okay, let me check in with that and see what that's about, and let me see how I can leverage those parts of me to help even more, to like turbocharge my service. Yeah, there's a little narcissistic part of me that likes to be, you know, for everyone to like my content and see my content, and it's like, yeah, okay, so what? Yeah, I have that. I have this not a need, but like a like, I like to be seen, and I can use that, I can leverage it, this neuroticism that I have, to serve even more.
Yeah, and just even being honest to that will help people also open up and be honest to their shit.
Yeah, we need to talk about it more. We need to talk about it more, you know, like talk about what is not working, where am I stuck, where am I struggling, like this, we'll call it, you know, this poop, right? Like it's so relevant in the world today, and how we process our excrement, our poop. It's like, stop hiding your poop, like bring it out, and we can compost it, you know, we can use it as fuel, as energy to support the community. This concept of like hiding until you've got it figured out and coming back, like that's bullshit, you know. Bring your shit, so we can all learn together. Like when we come in spaces and we come in circle, and one person's got a problem, we all hold space for that person to work through it. Every single person learns something about themselves in that process. I've heard of indigenous cultures that they don't even have a word for secret. There's not even a word for it, because there's no such thing. Everything is known by everybody in the community. And it's so beautiful, like to just release myself of like the stories I have about certain things that have happened to me, or that are coming up for me, being wrong or bad. And like just being able to talk about it, to come in circle with men and talk about, you know, how the, you know, problems that I'm having, you know, sexually or with my partner, or, you know, that, you know, struggles that we're having in the relationship. For me to sit face to face with my partner and have people holding space for us to mediate certain disagreements that we're holding, to come back to that love. It really is coming back to love. You know, love is like a full spectrum. Love is the full spectrum of everything. To come back to that place where I can see the beauty and the incredible like magic of every moment, you know, to really appreciate, like that's where the adult comes in out, like the true, some people call it the true self, the higher self, we call it the adult, like the small here, small now. Like, wow, how magical that you and I get to sit here in front of our screens and have a conversation and see each other from, you know, tens of thousands of miles away.
Thing is, what you're talking about has happened since the dawn of humanity. It's like it's our natural setting is to be in community. I mean, there is no I, you know, there's no me alone. I wouldn't exist alone. It would be me with everyone else, and there's nothing to hide. There's no secrets. And that's how we've existed for most well, 99% of our existence. So when you get that, it's like, makes a lot of sense because it feels good.
Yeah. And there's the people who say, well, oh, I need my alone time to process. And I'm not suggesting that no alone time. What I'm suggesting is when things are not working, when you're struggling, go to your community, open up, use your fear to navigate through into the places where you are really uncomfortable, to allow you to open and know that through the community, through the wisdom of the group, you can do your healing. You cannot do it alone. It's just not like we're too good at hiding from ourselves. The blind spots are blind spots because they're blind. You cannot meditate your blind spots into awareness. The mind is too good at hiding. It knows itself better than anybody, or thinks it knows itself, and it just puts things so far away from awareness. And it's to just let it all, to let go of the need to keep things quiet is probably the most healing thing ever. It's like people talk about self-regulated nervous system and the parasympathetic. Nothing relaxes the system like just saying it, just getting it out, putting it out in the space. And hoarding doesn't exist in nature. There's no such thing. Nothing contains stuff and like keeps it, like the way we keep money and put it, like it doesn't exist in nature. And keeping things to yourself is part of the hoarding, and it just festers. Anytime something is like bunched and put away, it rots. And that rotting happens inside of us when we hold stuff in, when we bottle up our feelings, when we bottle up what is not working and what is uncomfortable and where we're struggling. It just rots. And that's when mental health disorders come in, depression, anxiety, even schizophrenia is just an extreme version of bottling up our feelings and our emotions. And I've seen healing happen for people who are supposed to be on drugs without drugs, just creating spaces for them to finally feel comfortable sharing, to release the pressure valve in the body.
I think that's, from what I understand, is also where stuttering can come into being. Yeah.
I've seen magic happen in these like sort of mental health things, and also physical health. By what's become clear to me is like we have 5 bodies, but we'll just start with, make it simple. Like you have your physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the energetic bodies. And this is not true or right. It's just how, like, a useful, simple tool. And so whenever one body is being repressed or contained, it will leak into other bodies to create an alert system, right? So, and usually in our world, it's the emotional body that's totally deprived and malnourished. It'll sometimes leak into the mental body in these mental health disorders. It'll leak into the physical body as disease or chronic pain or whatever it is, like these unexplained things that cannot be connected to a trauma, like a physical trauma or something very clear and obvious. Or in the energetic body, and like this just burnout and total lack of connection to anything around. So God, it's just so much fun to see this happen, because I've worked with people who have simple things like foot pain for 3 months that they can't explain, to multiple sclerosis and leukemia, and to have these breakthroughs where they realize that this is actually because they haven't had any access to their anger. And, you know, I give this example a lot, and it's just so beautiful. Like this woman came to me because she's having this foot pain, and we sit down and I, you know, I do these 1.5 hour or several session work with people to try to kind of allow the disease or the pain or whatever it is to feel heard and then be able to go away. So the woman, the first thing she says is, I feel like I can't put my foot down, which is a figure of speech. You know, in the US, probably other places people speak English, means I can't set a boundary. I can't speak up like and say like no. And so we worked on it, and we worked on tapping into the anger and creating a conscious relationship. And in the one session, that foot pain was already gone. You know, it was gone. And I just have so many more examples like this that make it so clear that our world today now is starving for emotional body connection. And just like you have a personal trainer for your physical body to learn how to move, you have teachers for your intellectual body to learn, you know, concepts and learn skills. The emotional body also needs to be trained. You just because we have certain parts doesn't mean we know how to use them. Just because we have ears doesn't mean we know how to listen. Just because we have a mouth doesn't mean we know how to speak. Most people listen and speak neurotically, which means they're just listening to wait for the next thing to say, you know, formulating and not actually being present or listening, or speaking about something totally off topic that has nothing to do with anything, and like having no awareness of it. I don't know if you've ever been that person at the party that you're just like rambling on and everybody's like looking at you like, does this guy not understand, like not see what he's doing? And it's like, yeah, that happens. It's happened to me in my life a lot. I'm just now recognizing it because I've trained and learned these distinctions about the different types of speaking, the different types of listening.
Yeah, in our society, that guy who's speaking a lot at the party is almost celebrated, though. I feel it's like, oh, you know, because no one's in. I don't want to generalize at all, but because everyone's trying to keep up with the next thing, or no one's, depending on what party you're at, of course. But what I noticed in university, the guy in the room who's the loudest, who is the narcissist, he gets a lot of attention. It's like, wow, when you step back from all of that, you can look at it and feel, okay, it's normalized. This isn't good.
Yeah, on some level, people, most people, and again, yeah, generalizing, have very little or no connection to their to what they're meant to do. So when someone's talking a lot, it's like, great, now I don't have to deal with me and my discomfort and what's not working for me, and I can just sit back and be comfortable and be small.
Yeah,
you know, for a lot of people, that's the strategy: stay small. You know, and we were programmed to be small because in school, if you speak up, if you call the teacher out, if you disagree, you get punished. And at work, same thing. For people who are employees, it's the same thing. And our world is trying to create more employees, more good boys, nice girls, right? Men without balls. Like you are valued in this society when you are polite and you stay quiet and you don't make a fuss and you don't fight for what you believe in that's contrary to the norm. So let's get really controversial here. You know, the jab, the shots, right? Like, if anyone speaks up or says anything contrary to the narrative, they are censored and blocked and ridiculed, and now getting to the point of not being allowed into places. So, and I want to really stay away from like the opinion here of like, is it right or is it not right? Is it good or not good? Like, let's move away for a second and just think about this. Like, people are being blocked digitally, physically, so they can speak. And this is the most clear example of what our society values. Shut up, do what you're told, stay in line. It's so depressing to it makes me very angry and very sad.
Yeah, equally, man, equally. It is very sad. And when you come from a simple example, like someone being at a party and then talking at everyone and everyone kind of like allowing it, it's like, okay, it's a small example. Let's look at why. And then you extrapolate it and think, this is across the board. And of no wonder we are governed in this way. And if you look at that and then look at the language which is being used, and perhaps even just have some awareness of how you feel when you listen to the guidance, the governance, those people are supposed to be representing your friends and your family. When you feel yourself, like, what do you feel when the words are coming out of their mouth? Do you feel safe? Do you feel held? Do you feel nice? Do you feel good? Do you feel protected? And I don't know anyone that would agree that they do feel that. It's almost like, oh, okay, right. I've got to lock the door, make sure the door's locked every night. And like, do you know what I mean? It's this immature
terror.
Dialogue, and it's terror and it's fear and it's all these kind of, you strip it away and it's obvious. But I want to just tap into the dialogue that's used. It's so immature, like it's so simplistic as well, and that's another. You could see that as immature because they haven't got the language to, and it's one or two things. It's, okay, I'm simplifying this because I don't believe that you're intelligent enough to understand, or I'm trying to make it simple because I don't understand.
Beyond that, what I'm seeing is that it's actually just about keeping everyone in their minds. It's a game of like keeping everyone up here. As long as you're up here, confusion, like the mind can hold 100 stories at the same time, and the dissonance happens up here, right? Because the mind can hold this story and this story at the same time, and then it goes, wait, what? Like there's this, but there's this, but there's that, what? And it gets and just it goes crazy.
Yeah.
But if you go down to the heart can only hold one message at a time. Very simple, very clear. When you speak, when you see someone speak from their heart, it's short and it's sweet and it's like it's very clear.
Yeah, it's an energy, right?
When for some reason, every time I tap into my sadness, it's always about pollution. Like I feel sad that our world is being trashed. Period. Like no story about it. Everywhere I go, I see trash, and it makes me feel really sad, and it drives me to try to do something different about it, to try to connect with people and deliver this message. That is the energy, these universal forces that can allow something different to happen.
Yeah. How do you deal with judgment, or have you in the past? Because I think it's one thing that I navigate all the time, and I feel like I've got there and then it comes up again. Like, for example, I'll go around a friend's house and I'll see it's untidy and I'll feel judgmental on them. Like, and it's like, why is that there? I'm judging myself. Like, what is it about? Or have you navigated that?
Yeah, I what I see is that as humans, judgment is inevitable. It happens because it in some way it's what keeps us safe, right? There's the component of keeping us alive, the judgment thing, and then it's almost like it overflows into areas where it's not supposed to go. So it's just like there's that function is turned on really high, and my practice is just to be the observer and to name it. So when I'm with somebody and I notice a judgment happen, I just say it. I just, hey, I noticed that I have a judgment about this. And then I start to dig into it myself. So as I have this judgment, I see, oh, I have a fear that this or that, or I feel angry about this or that, and start to, and always turning it back onto myself, because it's all there's this saying of like, everything's a reflection of you. And it is really true, because it's just everything that I look at reflects, like, causes a reaction in me. And if I can be really present with that and keep that distinction, right, that it's all a reflection of me, then the opportunities for healing and for shifting, changing my story, changing my beliefs, shedding, is in every moment. Like, I can be transformed in every moment. I just, I sit here and I look at the trees and I see so much about collaboration, about colors, about the different, like, each tree has different leaves, and they're not fighting with each other about it, and I can literally create a whole, like, geopolitical physics paper out of just sitting here and observing the trees for an hour. And yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about us not having guides and elders in this time, in our generation. And I was hiking the river the other day, and I realized, like, that's actually not true. We do have guides and elders. It's nature. It's been showing us the right way since the beginning of time. And it's almost like we're in this adolescent phase as humans, like, trying to create our own identity separate from nature. Like the way that an adolescent needs to separate and create its own identity from its parents, from his or her parents. And this is like where society has been, I think, in trying to distinguish itself from nature, which is kind of foolish, because we are nature. The nature's inside and it's outside and it's all around, and we're just another cell in this nature body. But God, there's so much to learn from nature. And it's almost like, if it's not available for you to see in nature, then it's not worth learning. It's almost uncomfortable to say, because I don't want to invalidate anybody's journey of learning. And I see that most learning is about separation. It's about, like, someone knowing something more than someone else, or like it's a knowledge competition, or a beliefs. Like, there's people that believe in red, people that believe in blue, and that's where I see a lot of healing available, to, like, just realize that it's just a story, it's just an opinion. And you can keep your opinion if you want, and it doesn't need to be a tool to separate you.
Yeah, exactly. It's divisive. It does divides, separates you from the outside world. It divides you from the people you love. And if you just drop out of that and just experiment, do it for a week, to try not to have any opinions that are going to cause any conflict. Just experiment with it and just lean into that, and drop out of that needing to be right, or right and wrong is such a toxic belief system. I have it in my relationship. I'm like, I haven't done anything wrong. I say that all the time. And my partner's like, this isn't about wrong or right. And I've never got that, and probably until this conversation. But it's like the wrong aspect of it. Clearly from a childhood perspective, I'm like, if I've done nothing wrong, then I can't feel bad or can't feel guilty. And there's other words there, bad and guilty. And it's like, there's so much to it. It's just about having a conversation, Stop divorcing yourself from that experience.
Yeah, there's an experiment of just for a week. Yeah, like you said, for a week. This doesn't mean that you have. Yeah, it's funny because to propose this, there's like there's several layers of it. It's like, agree with everything everybody says. Agree. Just agree with them. And people, but I don't, but I don't, and but what, but they're not, but it's like, but who cares? You know, if my goal is connection and love, right? Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you are not your opinions. You know, you are not your thoughts, because if you were your thoughts, you would disappear, because the thought comes and then it goes away. Opinions change. So anything that changes is not true, and it's not you. So yeah, just as an experiment, try agreeing with everything. Or another experiment that came to me as you were talking about you and your partner is, whenever someone speaks of their belief or their opinion, go a level higher and acknowledge and appreciate how much they care about something, or how much they're showing up for themselves, or how much they are wanting to be in connection with you and teach you something, or whatever it is. Just find the place of appreciation, and also notice what might be blocking you from that appreciation.
Yeah.
Because this is a reflection, a microscope of your whole life, right? What we all want is more connection, more love, to be seen, to be heard, and yet we block ourselves from it. So it's like it's a microscope into the bigger picture of life. So yeah, I love these experiments.
Yeah. And also, like, you want that for yourself. So the person you love, you want that for them. Like, they are trying to, you know, speak from their experience about something that's happened. Maybe they're setting a boundary. Yeah. Okay, good. Why aren't you celebrating that? And if my partner heard me now, she'd be like, "You hypocrite." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'm just observing in this conversation." But it's like, celebrate that. And I hear it from her all the time, but I'm so caught up in my story and my need to be right, to be wrong, whatever. It's like, okay, I just need to stop and just appreciate that you are trying to do the best for yourself right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to take a pause here, because we're proposing a lot of experiments. And
Sure.
for anyone who's listening, you know, notice if you've actually written anything down. Notice if you have said, yeah, I want to try that. Yeah, I want to try that. Yeah, I want to try that. And didn't write anything down, because the irresponsible shadow king or queen of ourselves likes to forget, because it wants to not take responsibility. So to do an experiment like this would mean to take responsibility. So it's going to be like, yeah, you've got this. Yeah, you're going to do these things. And then, you know, an hour goes by, and the next, you know, you've already done the next 5 things and it's totally forgotten. So take a moment to, you know, commit to whatever experiment you're going to do for the next week. Like, you know, I have my notebook. This thing goes with me everywhere. I actually have 3 of them now, that they, you know, different things. And yeah, like, just taking note of everything as the experiment happens. Take notes about the experiment. Like, it's not even about going back to it, but just the act of writing it creates a higher level of commitment and a higher level of participation that in the absence of it, like, is just completely forgotten and brushed over. And I say this because I was the one. I hate taking notes and writing things down, and it's almost like it's like my story was that it takes me away from the experience, and it takes me away from being present. But that was my, you know, we call it a gremlin, like your shadow king or queen. My gremlin just loves to, like, do nothing, to just waste time, like have this hour and a half conversation and then nothing happened after. It just loves that. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate wasting time. And that's my thing, you know. I feel like, oh, we're not getting anywhere, you know. We're wasting time. I haven't done anything today. But it's like, what's, again, checking into that first question that you asked. It's like, okay, why am I doing this? It's so simple.
If you ask yourself that question enough times, you're gonna earn back so much time.
Yeah.
And you might outwardly become the asshole. You know, like people are gonna be like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you acting so different? Why are you being, and the answer is, well, I'm taking back authority of my life. And a lot of people are going to be really triggered by that, because most people's gremlin is running their life, and they don't want to have a reflection of somebody that's starting to actually take action. Then that means that they need to take action. You know, and they're and you know, the box, right, the belief system, the safety net, the gremlin are trying to protect us from doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest example of that is drinking. You know, if I have a conversation with someone and I say I'm not drinking, a lot of people are fine and they're like, oh, cool, great, whatever, yeah, you do you. But someone who's like clearly feeling something that's not okay, then this is exactly what we're talking about.
Absolutely. So there's another game to play, right? Whenever somebody asks me, you know, why I'm not, or if I want to drink, it's like, I already feel my fear that this is going to create some type of like thing about it. And I go, okay, so let me try something creative. So I was saying something like, how would you react if I said that I don't like drinking? And so you almost start having a conversation about the conversation already. And then you get to play and connect with the person. And, you know, maybe there's a big realization that comes for them. Maybe there's a big realization that comes for you, you know, and going deeper, going beyond the superficial question. And I totally agree with you. This thing about drinking alcohol, like, it comes up so much. I remember when I was back in Mexico for a while, we were sitting at a table, and this came up, and we started to actually experiment with this. Like, we started to play a game where one person would be like the person who didn't drink, and the other person would be the one that would ask them. And we started to try different ways of approaching this. And I remember that it was my turn, and it was a woman that was the one that was asking me, and we got to the point that we were both crying and like having such a deep, intimate moment of like knowing each other. And she was so deep in it that she totally even forgot that we were in this experiment about it. And then when I told her, I was like, do you know? And she was like, she kind of came back and was like, whoa. So like, she dropped all of the protection, all the layers. We were like deep in connection. And then I called it out, and then they all came back in. And it's like, can we create more of these moments? Can we create such a beautiful, safe, playful container that like people can just take it off for a moment, just take off the mask, take off the numbness, take off the facade, and just be, you know, with each other. And like, that's just like what lights me up.
Yeah, I love that. Take off the numbness.
Yeah, we create a numbness bar. We you know, people who live in cities, like, you need it.
Yeah,
the lights and the sounds and the chemicals and the, you know, the toxic, not toxic people, but the other numb people, the Wi-Fi's and the whatever, all of these electromagnetic fields colliding with your body. You have to numb yourself, because to feel the pain, the fullness of how out of alignment this is with your essence as a natural being, natural, you know, whatever me is experiencing myself through through this physical experience, you would just it would almost be like totally paralyzing in every moment to really walk through a city with my numbness bar all the way down, feeling everything. Like it would just,
Yeah, it'd be too much.
It would be too much.
Yeah. You wouldn't, you don't look too many people in the eyes in London.
Yeah. I've seen what's going on in London and London, New York, even, I come from Miami. I spent many years in Miami. And when I go there to visit or go to take care of things, I notice how much I numb myself. I notice it. It's painful for me to notice how much I'm like trying to numb my pain. And like, that's another experiment. Just start to like create awareness about how you numb yourself, or how high your numbness bar is, from like 0 to 100%. Like, how high is it?
That's a powerful one. It's a hard one for sure. I want to thank you anyway.
You can ask people, like,
Yeah.
say, hey, how high is my numbness bar? How numb do you think I am from 0 to 100?
Yeah.
Great way to start an intimate conversation.
I'm going to try that one tonight. Yeah, I want to thank you anyway, because you said something that really reframed something for me. I think a lot of your content, a lot of the way you communicate, I've heard a lot of the stuff that you talk about, but you say it in a different way. And I think that's because, people say there are no new ideas, but it's like, it can resonate with you in a different way if someone says it the same. It's like, again, not being numb to talking to someone who you think can offer you nothing. It's like, basically the statement was, show someone love, because when they know you love them, they know you want the best for them, so they'll listen. And that's so fucking profound. Because for me, it was all just about love, be love, show love. You want love, you want to receive it, give it. But that for me was like, well, of course, it makes so much sense on an energetic level. It's like, yeah, man.
I've been learning that lesson myself recently, even, in a new dimension, because my partner is going through a tough time. She's just really just feeling kind of lost, confused. Just there's a lot coming up for her. And my nature is to push. Like, come on, let's, what is this about? Come on, keep going. And I realized that I was just, I was doing this tough love thing, or whatever you want to call it. But I was really wanting, I was wanting the best for her, but I wasn't showing love. I was just skipping that part. I was just assuming that she was connected to my love for her. And God, it was like, it's been a couple of weeks of this. And like 2 days ago, I just shifted. Something in me just came back to that and I just said, oh shit, I forgot. And I came back to it. And for the last few days, I've just been, I love you and I miss you. She's not here with me right now. So I miss you. And I see how hard this is. And I'm with you. I'm with you here. Like, I'm really with you. And like, I feel it. I feel this pain that you're going through. And I appreciate it so much, how you're like, that you're trying and you're going for it. And gosh, it could be just a coincidence, but I doubt it. And there's really been a climbing out now, just with that foundational support of like, I'm here, I hear you, I got you, it's not a rescue, right? It's not rescuing the person. It's not taking them out of their suffering or their pain, but it's just saying, I'm here with you in the pain. I feel it. I see it. And you're not trying to pull them out of it, but just being there with them in it. And that is like the best thing. That's the best that you could offer. Don't try to solve people's problems. You are not helping them. I promise you. Like, people whatever problems they're creating for themselves is because they need to learn something, and they need to go through it. So, but being there with them in it is, God, it's just like, you know, I think about, you know, my origins are going barefoot and whatnot, you know, and I see how people who would never go barefoot, when I'm next to them and, you know, I'm with them, they just do it. Like they just, you know, like there's a river here, right, you know, 100 meters, 10, 50 meters that way, and people who would never go barefoot like have hiked the river with me barefoot, and they're just like shocked. And it's just creating this containers of love that allows, that helps and supports people in going out of their comfort zone, going deeper.
Yeah, and I think on the relationship front, when you've essentially allowed that space to then move to the next space. It's like that next stage, you needed to just be that, and what you just articulated, to then allow the space to then move to the next thing. It's like they couldn't have possibly, the body knows. It's not even about her or her mind. It's like you needed to show that, to create that space to then move forward. It wouldn't have, the body wouldn't have moved without that.
Yeah, I love that the concept of space is like moving to the next space. You know, like you're in this space, and this space is connected to every other possible space, and it's like finding the doorways to the next space, finding the keys, right? Like that little thing that somebody said, and only in full presence can I catch that little statement that like opens the door to the next space and creates that invitation. Hey, let's go a little deeper in a little more dangerous place. So beautiful.
So talking of dangerous spaces, so when you go off on your hike tonight in the dark, what's next for you when you come back? Are you thinking that far ahead?
Oh, I don't know. I'm waiting. I'm always, you know, I'm not always. These days, it's like I just wait for the invitations. I wait for the invitations, like, and I don't mean just like someone comes and invites me into something, but the world, the universe has a funny way of creating invitations. You know, when I started to learn about barefoot living and this whole, you know, natural living, it was the universe was inviting me to take a stand for something, to really like own a message. And so, and I, you know, I just, and once, now that I've stripped away most of what distracts me from being here, I become very sensitive to the invitations. You know, I wake up and I think about the river, and I go, oh, okay, thank you. And I go to the river. And when I'm at the river, then I'm like, okay, oh, left. Okay, go left. So, and it's almost like, it's like, I'm just in a flowing river, you know. This example gets brought up a lot, but like, I'm just going down the river, experiencing the flow of the river. And it's really just so peaceful, such a peaceful way of living. I don't have to like always keep fighting and trying to get more and accumulate more and more. It's just life's happening, and somehow it just delivers me exactly what I need and takes care of me. When I'm in the river, when I'm in the flow, it's just delivering, you know, offering. And it's so beautiful. It's so like perfect. And when I get out of it, it's like resistant and it's fighting, and it's and then I come back. And that's like this, you know, self-regulated nervous system thing.
Yeah. Well put, man. It's great. It's good to feel that, not necessarily hear it, but feel that from you as well. That you don't have a routine. It's very much playful, and it's very much, that Jeff who got in the river yesterday is a different person to getting in the river today. So you don't know what's required or needed, and people find that concept really challenging, to kind of get or have time for, because we're so conditioned heavily to believe that we need to be in this linear life that goes in one direction.
Yeah.
And just
going non-linear. I love that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah. There's a workshop. But it's going in this linear direction, when if you really step back and think, okay, what's going to bring me more joy? What's going to bring me more laughter? What's going to bring me more love? And doing things in a playful, present way, always.
It seems to work.
Yeah.
Like another experiment, on a day that you have nothing to do, just sit there and wait for the signal, and then in every moment wait for the next signal. And just there's this, we have created this deep mistrust in our intuition. I think we've been taught, and when I say we've been taught, it's like we've accepted this story that we can't trust our intuition, that we have to process and analyze things, and it has to make sense.
Yeah.
Making sense. What a toxic concept, making sense. And it's like, spend the day just whatever impulse, trust it. Whatever the impulse is, just trust. If the impulse is eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, just do it, try it. Because you might be totally like undernourished, or it might be something else, but just listen, and trust. Listen and trust.
Yeah.
Listen and trust.
I think the drive and that urge to go for that, let's just say, for example, a bar of chocolate, it's like the not doing it, and your head telling telling the other person that you can't have it, is driving that urge. It's like, no, you can't have that. That's wrong. Oh, I want it more now. And you just let yourself have it. Like, just do it. Just don't feel any shame, guilt, anything, and see how you feel. You then probably realize that it's not really that satisfying, and you didn't really want it in the first place. You're just playing like a game with yourself.
Yeah, it keeps you in a loop, and then you don't, there's no going, there's no next thing. It's just the same loop going on and on. It's like, what kind of life is that? It's just like in a loop. And most of society is just caught in this loop, right? Go to work, to make money, come home, watch TV, and be told you're not enough, and you need to get this thing, go get it, then go back to work to make more money, sit to afford all these things, and to sit down again. And it's just like this loop of this story of like, I have to do this, I have to get this, I have to this, I have to that. And what doing this healing work and this emotional body, energetic body work, like that all starts to fall away. And what kind of society would there be if there was no consumers? And that's why there's no incentive for any awakening or any sovereignty or any personal authority. Because if we all really checked in with what we really need, the system would collapse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not, these structures weren't based, they weren't designed, they're not systemized in that way. What I want to ask you a question about kind of individualism, because I've been probably intellectualizing, but I've been thinking about this concept between like individualism and collectivism. I've been having this kind of to and fro with a friend. And for me, it's, again, concepts are dangerous. Political theory is dangerous because you know, it's a theory, but it's concept of like, we're in this together. But in the West, we've got, well, you know, we have more freedom now, and we have certain affluence. You know, I'm not labeling good or bad, but we have that, and we can have these conversations. So some would argue because of that, and we can do this work because of that. A lot of people in the world can't, and they haven't got the, you know, the capacity. I mean, I would argue they're being more than they're doing, and they're actually probably don't realize how genuine and authentic their lives are. And that what they value is really closer to being human and health than us over here. But just kind of steering away from that, I guess this concept of being an individual but in a collective culture, and what responsibilities have we got to nourish the collective? If you have any thoughts about this.
So this came up really big this week, and it comes down to how we perceive value. Meaning, in this materialistic capitalist structure, patriarchal, whatever you call it, whatever you want, the modern Western culture, what is valuable is what, if given away, creates less for the individual who does it. So if I have money, if I have something, if I have a car, when I give it away, I have less of it. So the value, what is valuable is what I have to keep and hold on to, and I have to protect it, right? Banks, and it's all, walls, security systems. It's all about protecting what is valuable, which is it's a scarcity model, right? Like I have this thing, and there's only this thing, and if I give it away, then I have no more of this thing, and it creates this this separation, and it creates this like me against the world. I need to protect myself, and like a lot of this creating stories and creating beliefs is about protecting myself. Now, the way that nature and the world really functions, which is not that, is that your value is in what is in that which multiplies when you give it away. So love, presence, like not just presence is like I'm present with you, but my presence, what I bring with me, and how I reflect that to others. So in that world, then your service is that which turns you on, right? That's how you are part of the collective. You have this thing that lights you up and makes you excited, and that you love, and you give it to your community, and everybody elevates together around it. So I had an example. Another great experiment, a game to play with friends. So we were actually playing this game on Sunday, and the way it goes is there's one person that is like the subject, and everybody popcorn style for a few minutes tells that person what their superpower is. And the superpower is not like a superhero superpower. It's just, an example is like there's an amazing way that you hold your energetic boundaries so that, you don't allow other people's energy to penetrate your space. And so you're really good at remaining centered. That's a superpower. Your superpower is the way that you ask questions that allow people to go deeper into self-inquiry. That's us. So go around, and then everybody like popcorn style keeps like giving this person all of this feedback about their value. and then in the end, the person gets an opportunity to reflect on it and like say what they think their true superpower is, like out of all the things they heard or something that wasn't said. What a beautiful game, you know. Let's sit here and we all appreciate each other and celebrate each other for their real value. Like, not, oh, you have a cool car, or oh, you have a nice apartment, or you dress amazingly. But the deeper things, like you represent beauty, like true beauty. You have an eye for just exquisite beauty. You know, that, like, what is truly valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a different angle to the conversation for sure. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about the community that you're a part of. How did you find yourself there?
So I'm here short term, and, you know, talking about invitations from the universe, this was a really great one. So I met several of the people here through some of the work that I do, some workshops that we did here in Costa Rica. They came to the workshops, and we got to know each other, and become good friends. And I came down here to check on some projects that are going on that I'm curious about. And I reached out and I said, hey, I'd love to come and spend a couple of days with you all. And so I came, and literally the first night they were like, why don't you just stay for a month here and explore this community and bring some of your medicines, some of your gifts here. And, you know, when I say medicine, I don't mean anything that you take. I mean, just, you know, sometimes I use language from my world that I forget is not common.
You gifts.
Common. Yeah. Bring the gifts, bring the value. and so I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'll do a month here. So I've been here for a month. This is like I said, it's an eco-conscious neighborhood that is a fruit forest, which is so amazing. You walk around, there's like fruit. Every tree is basically a fruit tree. And it's a stepping stone out of modern culture, out of the typical thing. It's like a place where people can come to learn how to be closer to their food, to learning about where their food comes from. There's a garden here that they grow, you know, a lot of vegetables and herbs and whatnot. And then there's the fruit trees, and it's also pretty upscale. You know, it's a pretty valuable neighborhood, and yet it's like in the middle of the jungle. So what this is showing to me is that there really is this shift happening where people, and even affluent people who have won, you know, in the game of modern culture, are still wanting out. And that is really promising. That is very exciting, because the system, I don't think, can be fixed. We just need to create the next thing, something different. And the system is only as good as the people participating in it. And it's just, the system works. I'm not going to say that it's been terrible for its entire existence. Like, it created all these cool things that we get to benefit from. And it's reached its limit. Like, the earth is being completely decimated. And I see it as one of the downloads I got at the river was this concept of the dead end. Like, if you're going in a direction and you already know that it's a dead end, even though you haven't seen the end of it, are you going to keep going in that direction? Are you really going to keep doing, like, what's the point? You already know it's a dead end. Like, just shift, right? Turn. Like, and that happens in the river. Sometimes you're going through this path and you reach the dead end. You're like, oh wait, I can't go any further. Okay, turn around and go a different way. And sometimes you're going and you see at the end, like, oh wait, I'm not gonna be able to go any further here, so I'm not gonna just keep going. So then turn around, like, I'm just gonna turn around because I'm going in this other direction that I have a direction that I want to go, and this is not gonna get me there. So I already see, my perception, my belief, my story is that modern culture is already showing us that it's a dead end. It's already showing us that this linear consumerist, materialist thing is just not working anymore. Like it got us this far, great, and there's a pivot that then is going to help us get to, you know, keep going, but it's not this one anymore. You know, it's like it's time to shift. And so it's like, do you want to stay in the car that's going towards the dead end, or are you going to just like, you know, either take the wheel and change direction, or get out of the car? Yeah. So that's what that's been, yeah, it's been really present for me.
Yeah. No, that does resonate for sure. It reminds me of like a computer game where it's kind of glitched and the person, your avatar, is like walking into the wall still, and it's like keeps walking, like trying to get through it's a wall, and then nothing's happening. Like they're moving, they're not still. That just kind of image came into my mind. But yeah, and that can be seen in such a beautiful light. You know, that just saying that there's a dead end there, let's just recognize that and look for another way. Like there's so much light in that, and that brings me joy to hear that, because there's a lot of people out there trying to solve the same issue with the mechanism it was created, or like the structure's trying to be saved with the same. It's like Einstein's quote, right? It's like you can't solve a problem on the same level which it was created, and that is exactly what's happening. It's like it's not going to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, it's been so good to chat to you, man. It's been really, really present, and yeah, it's good. I like the person I am when I talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. Really.
It's all good, man. It's all good. So yeah, I'll put links to all your stuff, where to find you, and yeah, I'll do a little intro. But your story's been told many times on many podcasts, so I didn't feel the need today.
Thank you. I love this conversation. It was really just so much fun, and I felt very immersed in it. And I have a tally of I'm playing this game with one of my clients that we tally how many in like each conversation that we have, if it's an awesome conversation or bullshit. So we're trying to minimize the bullshit conversations and like become the asshole that kind of like says, hey, I'm not having this conversation because it just doesn't, I need to do something else right now, or like I don't know the context, you know, kind of referring to something that we spoke about. And so I have my tallies of like trying to playing this game of staying away from.
I think that's fair enough. It's what you value at the end of the day, and you've only got so much energy, and you want to use it. You know, your energy is a resource, and you want to use it in the right way, right?
Yeah. So, and also, if a conversation is bullshit, like, can I actually flip it? Can I turn it in a different direction? You know, just keep this column empty. You know, just. That's the game we're playing.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's a good point as well, because if you're feeling it's bullshit, then is that the conversation that deserves the energy, you know? But obviously you have a boundary, and that's where they come in. So yeah. Nice, man. Any final words? Do you want to end on anything?
For some reason, what came to me is, you know, the journey from the head to the heart is short, and yet so one of the longest ones you'll ever take. The longest journeys.
Yeah. And for me, what comes up is the Baz Luhrmann song, which I used to really value, but a lot of it is not aligned with me anymore. But there's the end, and it says the road is long, and in the end it's only with yourself. And that for me just blew my mind, because it's like, yeah, who's going to be there at the end? Only me. Like, it's just me, no one else. Nice, man. Okay, cool. All right, appreciate your time, and yeah, it's been awesome, man. I'll let you know I'll let you know when I'd love you on again. That's for sure. We'll connect again.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you doing this work and taking the time to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you value podcasts. You understand the production aspects of it all. And
yeah. If you've heard all my podcasts, you've heard me acknowledge everybody. So yeah, I really, it really is. It's something that I hope to find in me soon. And it's like all of you who do this, it's like really, you're leaders and examples, great examples. And yeah, thank you.
I see it as the real journalism, it's not really true to its word anymore, but it's like the truth seekers, the journalists that are really on the hunt for genuine, authentic, like heartfelt conversation. And I just owe it to the podcast that changed my life and put me on a direction. So it's like I'm just paying it back.
Bringing your gifts, value. Thank you,
man. All right, peace.